Welcome, agents. Today's State of the Game had little to offer in respect of the questions we've raised, i.e. the armor glitch, RNG, raid matchmaking, loot, all of that stuff basically wasn't talked about. Now they did address them, they did kind of talk about them, but there wasn't a lot here, I'll be honest. I will say that if you enjoy learning about how AI is programmed, you'll love this. I'm going to get straight into this, so please hit the like button if you enjoy this one, subscribe for dedicated Division content, and let's go. So first up, the devs briefly discussed the maintenance yesterday. The issues that were fixed were as follows. Fixed an issue preventing some players from entering Nelson Theatre classified assignment. Fixed an issue where some players could not progress to World Tier 5. I thought that had already been fixed along with the craft and bench upgrade, but clearly not. Made improvements to the delivery of the arm patch for the first week completion of Operation Dark Hours. Players who beat the raid in the first week should be granted their arm patch retroactively. Now moving on, and the devs confirmed the discussion around raid matchmaking is still ongoing, but they did stress some sort of LFG service will likely be implemented in the game at some point. Now the devs went on to confirm the next maintenance will be this Friday, the 31st, at the normal time of 9:30 to 12:30, so there will not be one tomorrow. This will fix some partial NPC behaviours, and they have a full fix for the bank headquarters loot cave as well on Friday. They did already implement a partial fix for this, but it should be fixed entirely on Friday. Now the devs went on to acknowledge the armor glitch within normalized modes, and this is being looked into. Moving on, and they confirmed TU 3.1 will be going live next week, but they've got no confirmed date as of yet. This will include fixes to the face masks being too small, the rate of fire for the semi-auto, among other things, and they did stress that this has already been covered before. I'd highly recommend you check out my previous video about this. Moving on, and the devs confirmed there is a huge discussion going on about skills, loot, and build diversity within the community and within the dev teams. They wanted to acknowledge it. It is being looked into, and they will update as soon, likely on their social media like Twitter. But if you don't follow them or you just want to wait for that to come out, then just turn on those notifications, guys, because I will have you covered, don't you worry. Now, the devs went on to talk in depth about enemy AI, and they confirmed the major bugs like aggressiveness and speed have been fixed, and they're going to be going live with TU 3.1 along with some improvements to the AI for TU 4. They basically said that AI will be fixed and it will be better when TU 4 comes out. They also confirmed that in TU 4, enemy backpacks will no longer be invulnerable and you will be able to shoot through them, and by TU 4 I mean title update 4 for any of you guys out there that didn't know that. Now, the invulnerability of the backpacks and that being fixed, this was probably the best thing to come out of this week's State of the Game, to be honest, and that says a lot about this week's State of the Game. Now, moving on, the enemy AI talk took up almost all of the stream, to be honest, and this is what I actually wrote down. So, yeah, as interesting as it might be to some, no one really cares about how they program AI or coding or what the dev's job entails. We just want it to work. Now, reading that back is exactly how I felt, and you're going to see why. Hamish had Drew Rechner, the lead AI designer on stream today, who basically told us how the AI works, how many nodes there are, and just basically how complicated the AI is. Now, they did eventually get to the real problem, i.e. the aggressiveness of the NPCs and the speed, but it felt like this stream was to basically tell everyone how difficult it is to implement some of these changes and how much work is actually going on. Now, whilst I appreciate there is clearly a lot involved, and I'm no lead AI designer, I've got no idea how this stuff works, but it's the same for most jobs. I could tell you how my job works and it would sound complicated, but once you do it, and you've been doing it a couple of weeks, you get used to it, and that's the same for this, I imagine. Now, I don't think coming on stream and talking for 30 plus minutes about AI programming is what people want to hear. I mean, this stream was almost an hour long. The community wants to know when stuff will be fixed, and that's it, basically. Now, you can make up your mind and leave your comments down below. I'm going to leave you a shortened version of the AI programming lesson right now, and I'm going to leave it there for you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Here's the lesson for any of you guys who want to know how to program or code AI.
But there's a lot going on under the hood that's quite different from between the two titles, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so like in both titles, right, we're still using the same underlying tech in terms of like the engine, right? It's Snowdrop. There's obviously a lot of improvements that were made from Division 1 to Division 2. And our architecture is still a behavior tree architecture for our behaviors. And we're still using something that's very low level. So like it's very powerful. It's complex, but it gives us all sorts of power to do really cool things. So like that's still the same, but how we used it has kind of changed dramatically. And that kind of really started with when we made the Hunter AI in the survival DLC of Division 1.
Sure.
So we kind of thought about how we really wanted to challenge the player, challenge their skills, like their shooter skills, and also their tactics in the best way possible. And we kind of took all of those learnings, and that's kind of where we started with the Division 2 AI. So we kind of re-architected a lot of things, both because it led to like better enemy behavior, but also because we had this kind of challenge where we were looking at more like about twice the enemy archetypes that we had in Division 1 and Division 2. So I mean, I think we had 64 or something when we released, which is quite a bit, and every single one has completely unique behavior and everything. So yeah.
Are there any key behaviors that stand out to you that we didn't have in the first game that we have now?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
What would the biggest ones be, you say?
I mean, there's a lot of them, but there's some like very core things, and then there are like some other like highlights that like undoubtedly like people would notice, like the ability for certain NPCs to go prone, right? We take like a True
Sure.
Sun sniper or heavy weapons, like they can go prone. The ability for them to like find the positions to go prone, for them to do that. We also never really had the ability for NPCs to like this concept of, hey, like I have a special ability, I have a weak point that's associated with that special ability. If you destroy that weak point, you destroy that NPC's ability from them using that ability. So like the most classic example is there's a thrower, they have a grenade bag, you destroy the grenade bag, and oh, they can't throw grenades anymore. Or the medic, you destroy their shock pads and they can't revive allies, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. I mean, we could probably go on like a huge list of those things.
There's a
forever.
huge amount of those, yeah, absolutely.
Because you were saying in the behaviors list, there's literally like thousands of nodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something that's a little bit unique, I think, to Snowdrop is that our behavior trees are lower level, so they consist of lots of small, very powerful parts, which then do very big things, whereas a lot of other engines will kind of do all of those things, but in code. And so, as an example, like a lot of engines' behavior trees are somewhere between 10 to 100 nodes, whereas ours are about, I think, 30,000 or so nodes.
So, yeah, because when you said low level before, I was like, low level kind of sounds like less power.
Yeah, right.
But basically,
it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Like, so instead of like a top level, top
Yeah.
top level view of something, you really get into the detail and have control over all those details.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the difference. I mean, this isn't a perfect comparison, but it's like the difference between a scripting language or something. Like we'll take like JavaScript or something, and or like Lua. Actually, that's maybe a better example. Like take something like Lua and then compare it to like C++. That's like high level versus low level.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and there's going to be so many like coders out there that are going to be like, that's actually not a great. Sure, not a great example maybe, but you get the idea.
There's been changes, and TU3 came out. What were some of the changes in TU3 that you did? Some of the things that worked, and some of the things that we didn't maybe didn't work, and we are looking at fixing.
Yeah. So TU3 actually consisted of like quite a lot of changes, right? I'm trying to think on the NPC side. I mean, there was a lot of bug fixes, right? Which, of course, moving kind of all these components led to some, I mean, we'll be nice and we'll call them adverse side effects, right? They were not great bugs that we introduced, basically, right? So yeah, for the life of me, I can't remember everything that we did. Game development is like constantly living in the future and then releasing stuff in the past, but
exactly. But like you mentioned before, there's a lot of things that you are aiming to fix with 3.1.
Absolutely.
And also just in upcoming maintenances and patches.
Yeah.
What are the key things that you've been working on? Not you, the team have been working on.
So most immediately, right, like we've been working on fixing the bugs that were introduced in Title Update 3. So kind of prior to that, right, one of our major focuses was really improving the NPC's movement, making sure that looks fluid and nice, making sure that those NPCs that are like like doing those weird leapovers and drop downs and like kind of teleporting and doing things like that we can eliminate all of those things.
Yeah, what is the teleporting thing?
Yeah, so that's it's a bit of a technical issue, but it has to do with the NPCs for various reasons. It should never happen.
Sure.
But of course should never happen.
Yeah.
Always happens. Where an NPC doesn't have space to play an animation, and so they basically just kind of fail to find anything to play, and so they just kind of pop.
Do they exist still? Like, is their hitbox still where they are, or
their hitbox absolutely always follows them, so that's never a problem.
all right? So you're not. They're not. There's not like invincibility frames.
No.
Okay.
As long as if you can hit them, you can hit them. There's nothing like that. Absolutely.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah.
For me, that's not written here. I just wanted to know that. So I guess that's happening on, like, where's that happening? Server or client?
So both.
Bit of both. Okay.
Both kind of. Yeah. I mean, so yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a little more complicated than that, but it's both. Yeah.
All right. So there's that, the teleporting thing. Sorry, I derailed you.
Yeah. And we also had the control point officers reviving downed players, for example. There's a lot of those things that we worked on as well.
Mm-hmm. What's been the biggest one for you? That's been the either most important to fix or the hardest to fix?
Bug that in post-launch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it would be the issues that were in TU3.
Okay.
Hardest to fix, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we want to talk about that now or wait.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I like talking about bugs. It might make might make some people mad, but I'm good with it. Give us the bug talk, Drew.
Sure. So in TU3, there's kind of been two major issues with AI that have been identified, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
There are at least two groups. Now, the reality is actually, and the unfortunate part of this, right, is that actually those two bugs or two groups of bugs actually consist of many different components that are kind of wrong. So it required a lot of actual fixing. It was kind of a really bad, a lot of things broke at the right time, or at the wrong time, I should say.
Yeah.
And they were all things that were very interconnected and related, and so they kind of made this mess. So